How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Yesterday was a little crazy, wasn't it, with Kristi Noem? So for those of you who weren't here in the last hour of the show, I had to actually pre-record the last hour and a half of the show to get to the airport. And it got to the airport, and of course the Kristi Noem story breaks, so I literally am standing or sitting in the terminal at Dulles International doing my show over my laptop with a little lavalier microphone to bring you guys the update. We will get into Cricket's revenge and the end of Kristi Noem here in a bit. I'll bring you up to speed on what I know. Those of you in Oklahoma definitely going to want to stay tuned. I got some details on Markwayne Mullin and the potential replacement in office. I want to begin because I'm intrigued by this because we live in this broken world. Donald Trump is undoubtedly, indisputably, the most polarizing figure in the political landscape today. And we've all been changed in some way in how we navigate, how we see politics, where we go. I've got friends of mine who've suddenly started voting Democrat because they just hate Donald Trump so much. I've got friends of mine who were Democrats who now vote for Donald Trump. I've got a friend of mine who I have always viewed as a liberal. In fact, he's to this day is pro-abortion, supports gay rights and gay marriage and all these things, and he supports Donald Trump. He had some radicalizing moments in his career with DEI stuff and has become a diehard Trump supporter. Now he looks at me and presumes that I'm the moderate. Donald Trump it's been discombobulating, but I cannot remember a time in modern American history where the entire media is rooting for the American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to lose so that they can best Donald Trump. The entirety of the American media seems to be cheering on Iran. You've got CNN now inside Iran with the government's permission. CNN, which regularly attacks Fox News and now CBS as state-run media, is in Iran with that government's permission. It's the only media in the United States that is in Iran. Do you really think they can tell the truth with their government monitors around them? In fact, one of the big reports from CNN is you wouldn't know there was a war in Tehran. You hear occasional explosions, but the markets are open, the shops are open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which to me is actually kind of proof that the United States is keeping its word. We're targeting the regime. We're not targeting the American public. The New York Times did an analysis when Renee Good hit the Border Patrol agent and said that she didn't. That based on their review, Renee Good had not hit the Border Patrol agent. And then, of course, we got the body camera footage or the cell phone footage of the guy, and she very clearly did hit him. Now the New York Times is out with an analysis claiming the Americans did bomb a school and kill schoolgirls in Iran. Now, Iranian witnesses on the ground said it was a misfired Iranian missile that was launched to take down an American missile that caused it. But the New York Times assures us it was actually the United States that did this. And you've got people from the Obama administration coming out, see, we've committed a war crime. I can't recall Republicans, even when Barack Obama blew up a wedding party or a hospital in Afghanistan. Remember, the Obama administration unfortunately targeted a hospital. It was an accident. I don't recall any Republicans running out saying war crime, war crime. The level of hostility is bizarre. Now this is the CNN story. I want to play you this clip because you got to remember, CNN is the only international network allowed inside Iran. It cannot interview the Iranian people honestly. Have you seen the clips of the explosions in Iran that are being filmed by Iranian citizens? They're all laughing and cheering. One of the major underground repositories of missiles in Iran was blown up yesterday. And there's footage, and I can't, it's funny. So there's a common thing around the world of other countries. This is how dominant American culture is. There's this common thing around the world where they speak their language except for the profanity. And the profanity is all in English. And so there's this clip of these people. And they're speaking Farsi, and then all of a sudden you hear what the F word. This mountain explodes, and the Iranians who are filming it are cheering the destruction of the mountain. CNN can't interview those people, so the Iranian government yesterday released a statement that they advised the parents of Iran that any visible sympathies for the enemy, there was a shoot to kill order. So if their children cheered the Americans, their children would be shot on the spot. We have these Iranians from their homes cheering the destruction of Iran. The Iranians want to be blown up. They want it because they know we're targeting the regime. Meanwhile, in this country, you've got progressives screaming we're creating war crimes, and CNN is on the streets of Iran.
Taking a quick break for a coffee along the way. We've been driving for several hours. There's a couple of things that we've noticed. Number one is that, first of all the shops are open. All the shops are really well stocked, even with fresh things, like, for instance, fruits and vegetables. Coffee, obviously, also available as well. And then also the gas stations. There's no long lines as gas stations. Fuel seems readily available, and you just don't see any sort of degree of panic anywhere.
Well, of course not, number one, because we're 4 days into the war, but also 5 days into the war, but also we're not targeting the people. We're targeting the regime. The Iranian leadership is dead. The Iranian people are fine. I am completely just baffled by watching the American media rooting against the United States. This is John Meacham, who hates Donald Trump, on MSNBC.
Force at will in order to, and I'm just trying to follow the administration's lines here, first to try to disrupt a nuclear program, to stop nuclear proliferation, to protect that neighborhood and our allies there. Can we do this in a way that seems improvised? Perhaps it has not been militarily, and I'm not making any comment whatever on the effectiveness of the military operations, but politically, this is an improvisational exercise. And so the question, I think, is going to be, what is the extent of our power in the first quarter of the 21st century? How will we use it? And after this, will we be able to bend people to our will more easily with simply the threat of force? And so these are open and important questions.
They are open and important questions. What I'm just amazed by is the level of skepticism, given what we've been able to do, what we've been able to accomplish. And his was mild. And then, of course, there's Abby Phillips.
A young person, and you're worried about being dragged into war. The White House essentially making light of it is not necessarily reassuring. And then President Trump, he gave an interview with Time magazine, and he was asked about what are the risks of the United States being retaliated against, and he says it's a possibility, I guess, he says, but I think that they're worried about that all the time. He essentially was downplaying it. He says, we plan for it, but yeah, we expect some things. Like I said, some people will die. When you go to war, some people will die.
Duh. I mean, they're trying to make a big deal out of this. It's absolutely bizarre. And you know what they're missing is General Petraeus was on CNN. Let me just play the clip of retired General Petraeus.
I said that as I was commanding the 101st Airborne Division during the fight to Baghdad and watching as the assumptions we had been provided in Kuwait were being invalidated one by one. And it was a bit of a rhetorical question, and I forgot that I was on the record with my embedded reporter at that time, Rick Atkinson, the great journalist and historian. Look, in this case, I actually see the military missions being accomplished fairly steadily here. The trajectory is very good. You know, first and foremost, of course, they went after the air and ballistic missile defenses, took those down, whatever had been reconstituted after the Israelis took them apart in the early days of the 12-day air campaign. And that's crucial because we don't want to be restricted to just the F-35 stealth fighter bombers and the B-2 stealth bombers. We want to bring in the big ones, the B-52s, the B-1 bombers, and they are flying now almost at will. I would argue that we have actually achieved air supremacy, not just air superiority.
Yes, air supremacy. They can't take them out of the sky. We've blown up their missiles, and yet the American media and many people online are booing the war effort. They're hoping that it fails because they want to blame Donald Trump. While all of this is happening, the Russians, we now have confirmation, are giving the Iranians information by which to target American positions. And the Iranians are incapable of carrying out many of the targets. They've blown up a couple of positions in Qatar and Bahrain, some missile batteries, but otherwise they haven't been able to pull off or execute the strategy. China, meanwhile, has provided Iran some of its bleeding edge technology to try out against the United States. And it's all failed. We now know, we've got confirmation out there that the Chinese gave the Iranians some hypersonic missiles to fire at the USS Abraham Lincoln. All of the hypersonic missiles failed mechanically. In fact, it's so bad that Iran is publicly now criticizing China's technology, war technology. Turns out the United States operates at the level of Target and China operates at the level of Temu. The Chinese cheaply made crap is cheaply made crap, and it's not standing up to the United States. Our $30,000 modified version of the Iranian drone is actually doing very well at blowing up Iran. Iran's drones are doing very well. We brought in the Ukrainians now. It's kind of wild now. The Ukrainians on our side. I would hope that Donald Trump would see that, recognize the Russians are giving intelligence to Iran. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are helping the United States blow up the drones. It actually is remarkable, though, to see so many people rooting against us. I want to spend a little more time on that, but at the bottom of the hour, it's just very interesting to me. So CNN had on an Iranian political prisoner, and the progressives on CNN didn't want to give the guy much airtime.
And he said, you as an Iranian American, I want you to know something and listen very carefully. He said, we in this building, and what he meant is the foreign ministry, which meant representing the government, which means representing the regime. He said, we believe we are at war with the United States. He said at that time, it's a Cold War, but it's a war nonetheless.
This was a war. I think that it's inevitable. I think it's inevitable.
Let Elise respond really quickly.
Super quick. I think it's inevitable that we'd be coming to this point. Okay. I think at some point a U.S. president would be involved in strikes against Iran, and it does turn out that President...
I disagree.
Disagree, says the progressive. I disagree. Yeah, the progressives always disagree. You got Russia involved on the side of Iran. You've got China involved on the side of Iran, and you got the Democratic Party of the United States and the American Press Corps on the side of Iran. You've even got some college Republicans out there on the side of Iran. It's an interesting all the worst people on the planet are siding with Iran, and that includes some people who are supposedly on the right. Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to be on the side of Iran. Code Pink, funded by Communist China, on the side of Iran. China giving them weapons that are not working. Russia giving them intelligence that Iran cannot use to execute a mission. Whose side are we on? You may not want to be in a war. but the United States is at war. The Republicans may not want to call it that and raise the questions about declarations of war. The Democrats did the same thing under Obama. Let's be intellectually honest here. Barack Obama had no authorization to go into Libya the way he did, and the Democrats excused it. Now they don't want to excuse it. We're in a war for all intents and purposes. Call me old-fashioned, but I think when the United States goes to war, we should be rooting for our country regardless of who the president is. And it's a sign of how broken so many people are that they can't do that unless they're guys in the White House. Greetings. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Iran, if nothing else, is proving itself a unifying force. You've got the Democrats and the American left and the press corps unified with Iran, but you've got Azerbaijan and Armenia finding themselves on the same side. I got to explain this one to you. If you don't know, Armenia and Azerbaijan used to be Soviet republics. Armenia was the very first Christian country on planet Earth. They are to the north of Iran, and they hate each other. Azerbaijan is predominantly Muslim, and Armenia is predominantly Christian. They are the northwestern tip of Iran by the Caspian Sea. Armenia and Azerbaijan are above them, and they despise each other. They were just at war with each other last year. They're at war with each other all the time. And Azerbaijan has a relationship with Israel. You would think Armenia would, but it's actually the Muslims in Azerbaijan do. And the Iranians, who have good diplomatic relationships with Azerbaijan, tried to blow up an oil pipeline in Azerbaijan. The Azerbaijani foreign minister has announced they're withdrawing diplomats from Iran. They're closing their embassy in Tehran, and they're preparing their military forces. The foreign minister of Armenia has called the foreign minister of Azerbaijan and congratulated them and applauded their efforts to turn about the Iranians. To give you perspective, last week, Azerbaijan paid out of its own pocket to evacuate Iranians from Lebanon, and Iran turned around and bombed them, and now they're preparing for war against Iran and uniting with Armenia to do so. Iran has a uniting effect on all of its neighbors. They all hate Iran. The only people who like them are the Democrats and the press in the United States. Now, you'll love a Rinnai tankless water heater. If you get one, you can yank the tank out of your house. Go to talkingtankless.com today. They've got a button there to talk to a Rinnai professional, and you can have hot water forever in your house. We never run it out of our house. Our power bill went down when we got rid of our tank of a water heater because, you got to use power, either electricity or gas, to just keep the water heater constantly hot. You can insulate them, and they are insulated, but you still got to use energy to keep them hot. With the tankless water heater, you only use the energy when the water's flowing through, and it just works phenomenally well. TalkingTankless.com is the website. TalkingTankless.com. Yank the tank out of your house. Put in a tankless water heater. You save on, you're not having to fill up a tank constantly. You're not having to keep it hot. You can save some money. They are reliable. They're well priced. You can put them in your current house, put it in your new house. It's a no-brainer. Never run out of hot water again with a Rinnai tankless water heater. Go to TalkingTankless.com. Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you. It is an open line Friday today. We've been a little light on calls this week, just out of necessity with so much going on, but I'm happy to answer your questions about any of the stuff that's happening in the world. It's story time, boys and girls. So when I got into college, I went to Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. We didn't have a college Republican chapter on our campus. There had been one and it had died, and so I restarted it. I got volunteered essentially into restarting it, and then I became the chairman of the Georgia Federation of College Republicans in my senior year in college. And I became the chairman not because I campaigned for it, but because I was the second vice chair of the Georgia Federation of College Republicans. The chairman disappeared, So the first vice chairman took over, and then there was a scandal, and he left, and so I became the chairman of the Georgia Federation of College Republicans, and I made the decision with a couple of friends of mine that we needed to kill the organization. It was scandal-plagued. Money had been misspent. It was a mess. And so I was the last chairman of the Georgia Federation of College Republicans and became the very first chairman of the Georgia Association of College Republicans, started the organization, and said, you know what, I'm done. Didn't run for office. I was wanted out of it. Then I got to law school and started a college Republican chapter at my law school, passed it off to some friends, and was done. When I got into being a lawyer, I wound up representing the National College Republicans, the college. What was it? The I can't remember now. The Federation of College Republicans. I forget the name of it. College Republicans Federation, something or other. Well, I left, moved on with my life. And they fell into scandal at some point. There was some scandal. It was like a gay sex scandal in this college Republican group. And they essentially did what I had done in Georgia. They shut down their organization and they started the National Federation of College Republicans. I think it was the College Republican National Federation became the National Federation of College Republicans. Scandal plagued. So now you got the National Federation of College Republicans. Now a new group has started. The new group is called College Republicans of America. The College Republicans of America are spreading around college campuses, and there's a difference between the National Federation of College Republicans, which is actually directly tied to the National Republican Party. You have the GOP, the Republican Party national apparatus, which underneath it has the National Federation of College Republicans. A new group has started calling themselves the College Republicans of America. And the College Republicans of America are in large part a group of people sympathetic to the neo-Nazis. I'm not making that up. The new political director of the College Republicans of America, let me read you this. This is one of his tweets. There's something extremely unsettling about all the conservative influencers saying things like, God bless Israel today and in the coming days after seeing Israel's preemptive strike on Iran. What should God be blessing them for? Starting a war? This is the same guy who is backing the weird old guy, James Fishback, who is a creepy groiper person who's not even a resident of Florida trying to run for governor of Florida. Let me read you this tweet. James Fishback has trustworthy physiognomy. Byron Donalds, on the other hand, is deceitful and suspicious. Physiognomy, just so you understand, is a discredited pseudoscience that claims based on physical features you can tell whether someone is trustworthy or not. And essentially what the guy is trying to do is say, since James Fishback is white, he's trustworthy, and since Byron Donalds is black, he's not. The College Republicans of America, the CRA, they are a group of guys who have a lot of ties to Nick Fuentes. And guess what? They are out there cheering on Iran, and they hate Israel. Many of them hate Israel. In fact, here's the interesting thing. China is essentially operating as military Timu. They're giving really cheap garbage, and here's the thing, it's the bleeding edge Chinese technologies. This is what you need to understand. In Ukraine, our old weapons technology was head and shoulders above the bleeding edge Chinese, Russian, and Iranian technology. Our fourth generation stuff was better than their modern generation, sixth generation stuff. Now in Iran, we're actually fighting, not Ukraine is, and our modern weapons systems are bleeding edge and head and shoulders above the Russian and Chinese modern weapon systems. The Chinese gave modern missile technology to Iran to try to blow up the USS Abraham Lincoln, and the missiles themselves failed and crashed into the sea. Was it because the Iranians didn't know what they were doing? The Chinese missile technology is like buying it from Timu. Temu, you can buy $5 garbage and it falls apart after one time through the washing machine, and you just keep buying the $5 garbage. That's essentially the way China has constructed its military. Remember, China launched a cutting-edge aircraft carrier 2 years ago, and it caught on fire. They put the fire out, they rebuilt it, and it promptly split in half at sea. This is Chinese technology. What China and Russia have been very good at, however, is not battle technology and weapons tech. It's disinformation and misinformation. You've got people online, this College Republicans of America group, the Groypers, the Nick Fuentes fans, and others, and they are cheering on Iran. They hate Israel, and they really hate the United States. They genuinely hate the United States. They are rooting against the United States. They are rooting against our success because they have internalized the United States as bad. Here's the thing, and this is the thing that really bothers me. Look at the conversations that Megyn Kelly has been having lately on a platform far larger than mine, essentially saying this is Israel's war, blaming Israel. Tucker Carlson, large platform, blaming Israel. Candace Owens, large platform, blaming Israel. These College Republicans of America kids, they blame Israel. You have this segment on the right that is as anti-Semitic as the left. It's horseshoe theory in action. And these people are trying to make Israel a scapegoat. And oftentimes what it is cover for is them not really liking the United States right now. They can't openly be unpatriotic, so they blame Israel instead. And everything they do that the United States has done that they disagree with, they say, well, Israel put us up to it. It's Israel's fault. They don't want to say, well, I hate America, but that's ultimately what it is these people are turning their back on the United States from the right, just as people on the left have turned their back on the United States and hate it. And online, a significant number of them are beginning to peddle massive amounts of disinformation. There are clips from TikTok, still a Chinese disinformation site, that are starting to circulate on other sites that are propagandistic, claiming massive destruction by Iran. What's so interesting is that in Iran, they've blown up a couple of missile batteries. And in fact, there's an unconfirmed report that Iran destroyed a radar system central to the Patriot system in Qatar. And in Bahrain, they blew up another radar system. And let me just read you this from Nick Kristof, who writes at the New York Times. Interesting, because both Iran's destruction of a Qatar radar system will cost $1 billion in 5 years to fix, but also because it will require rare earth minerals China controls the supply of. Another example of unanticipated costs of Trump's war of choice. And notice the phrase, war of choice, Trump's war of choice. They've embraced, all of them, this herd mentality of a war of choice. We're hearing this from people on the right who hate the United States. We're hearing it from people on the left who hate the United States. It's a war of choice. What choice did we have when we know that Iran was on the verge of having so many weapons that we wouldn't be able to repel their attacks? What choice was it when Iran was on the verge of harvesting nuclear material to make dirty bombs they could launch at Israel? Do you just not believe this? You know, if you go back last year when we blew up Iran's nuclear capabilities, CNN was reporting we only sent it back by months. And now suddenly CNN is reporting, well, how can this happen? We supposedly wiped out their nuclear weapons capability. It turns out when we blew up Iran's nuclear capabilities, we didn't bomb centrifuge systems inside Tehran where they had nuclear materials, or we didn't bomb that. And they started bragging to the United States in these negotiations that, oh, by the way, you never got our centrifuges in Tehran. Iran set itself up for this, if nothing else. But you have the disinformation. We used to blame Qatar. It looked like Qatar was doing this. But the reality is, it looks like it's China and Russia. China and Russia are losing on the battlefield in Iran. But they are winning on Twitter, the disinformation campaign. They are winning on Twitter. They're winning on TikTok. They're winning on Snapchat. They are inducing a large number of American citizens to hate and root against the United States, and not just on the left. There are a whole lot of people who claim to be Trump supporters who hate what we're doing. Nonetheless, 90% of Trump supporters support it. And 70% of Americans are okay with taking out Iran if the war doesn't last more than a month or so. The Pentagon is now saying it could be 6 months. When the Pentagon announced this could be a 6-month campaign, not an aggressive campaign over 6 months, just the first 4 weeks, and then management of blowing up some positions to help the Kurds and others, the left trotted out the clip of Donald Rumsfeld saying he didn't expect that the war in Iraq would last more than 6 months. You know, the war in Iraq didn't last 6 months. We got rid of Saddam Hussein. We replaced the regime. But Iran had other ideas, and it was Iran that decided that they wanted to bog us down there. It was Iran that kept us there for as long as they did, killing American soldiers, destabilizing the Iraqi government. We tried real hard to stabilize the government. That's why we had to stay. But remember, we had Saddam Hussein and his sons dead within 6 months. Now the question is, what does come next? And I understand the concerns about the Trump administration not articulating a plan. I think the plan is very clear from the Trump administration. They want the Kurds and the other ethnic minorities and majorities in Iran to rise up together once they've been put in place conditions by which they can rise and protest. We've got to put in conditions so it's safe for them to go in the streets. That's why Israel is bombing police state apparatus while we're bombing the national security apparatus of Iran. We're bombing those areas so Iran can't make war. Israel is bombing those things so they can't repress their people. And together that should free up enough resources for a destabilization campaign by the Iranian people to overthrow their regime. But on Twitter, you would think we were losing. On Twitter, you would think it was a disaster. On Twitter, you would think we were getting wiped out because people are believing the lies that are being festering and put out there by China and Russia. And the American media, the political left, and the Democratic Party, they're all willing to push the lies to make Trump look bad. They're all willing to push the lies to undermine a war effort, to undermine the military. And the reality is what we're doing is great. Here's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
Not the homeland will be covered down on. And I'll just end by saying I wish every American could get a chance to see what we see. I had a chance to go into the control room, into the Tactical Operations Center, go see these young men and women that are doing this, the dedication that they show at every level, the way they've refined their craft. Now, I'm talking to a young colonel who's iterating on how we target and how we find and fix different aspects of what the Iranians are trying to do. If they don't know what they're up against. And if they think they've got it solved for, they're wrong. And ultimately, the combination of our ingenuity, the skill, the professionalism, the discipline, and then the sheer weight of the capabilities of the U.S. military, what you're going to see may look routine. It may start to be like, oh, another boat. Oh, another launcher. Oh, another drone facility. What it takes to do this with the precision that we do is world class. No one else can do it. And it's world class Americans. Like the ones I saw here, like the ones that are coming home that we're going to greet home, that are the engine of what makes our country great.
Amen and well said. We can do what even China and Russia can't do, and they're starting to learn that their weapons tech is not enough to take us on. And by the way, don't look now. Don't look now. But the Chinese have had to stop flying jets to harass Taiwan. They've been flying regular sorties every day around Taiwan to harass Taiwan and screw up Taiwanese airspace. They can't. Why? Because there's now an oil shortage in China because we are in the Middle East and Iranian oil can't get to China. Welcome back. This hour of the program is brought to you by Van Allen Golf. I will be on my golf course in exactly 3.5 hours with my Van Allen golf putter, and it is a beauty. And if you want to give it a try, you can go to vanallengolf.com, ALLEN, vanallengolf.com. You can also text golf to 33777. I love their putter, and you will love their golf technology. If you or someone you love is a golfer, vanallengolf.com. Check them out on Instagram as well. Product is gorgeous. Okay, it is an open line Friday. Bear with me. There was a lot to get through. I promise I'm going to get to your phone calls. 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very happy to have you. I need to first, before I get to anything, I got to play you this clip. This is Nancy Pelosi, who has been asked why she will not reopen the Department of Homeland Security.
Hi, I wanted to ask about DHS. Do you think the nation is at risk right now with the partial shutdown of DHS while Iran, the situation with Iran? And
I think that there is a path that has been laid out that passes everything that's in the bill, but you cannot do the issues that relate to ICE unless there's some reforms. ICE has enough money in the big, bad, stinking, lousy, ugly bill that was passed. They're well funded, so we don't need to pass this bill to have funding for ICE.
What's your number one ask on ICE reform, you personally?
You know what they are. They're the proposals that our leader has put forth about masks and cameras and identification.
And she goes on from there. We're in the middle of a military engagement with Iran, and she can't bring herself to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. Now, let me tell you about Vision Computer. If you're buying a computer, you're building a computer, Vision Computer can make you new great computers. But if you want their managed IT service, anybody nationwide can take advantage of Vision Computer's managed IT services. They can do it for your computer at home, or if you're a small businessman, all your computers at your office. They can do it for your kid's computer when your kid goes off to college, any technical issues they have. You get a phone number that you call, 15 seconds or less, an actual human being answers the phone, can diagnose the problems, answer questions, remote in, and do whatever needs to be done to help you. All you have to do is call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. Anybody nationwide from Hawaii to Maine, 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Tell them Eric sent you. You might save a little more money. Visioncomputers.com.